creating a culture of love.
2 years later, I'm walking Marc Jacobs, shooting with Harper's Bazaar.
Adam was on a show.
I'm not the guy crying in the corner because I can't work out.
'Cause at the end of the day, shit's gonna hit the fan. Adam von Rothfelder, welcome to the studio, Live Through Love headquarters.
Is that how, do I just like hold this the whole time?
Hold it the whole time.
Okay.
You got the memo. You know what to wear. This is the man that has ruined my love of coffee for the love of his strong coffee. There's a lot of puns in there.
There is, yeah.
But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in.
Man.
Today I want to, let's just really dive in and unpack you, right? You've been on some podcasts before, and some of it's just like only about strong coffee, but there's a whole history to you, right? You were a past MMA fighter. You've battled with mental health and depression and grief with stuff that's happened in your family, with deaths. You're a father of 2 girls. Like, there's a whole lot here. You're an entrepreneur, traveling the world. You've been growing your little brand from your back pocket in a Ziploc bag to the shelves of Erewhon and Whole Foods. Is that a good intro? What are we talking about?
Well put, yeah. I mean, that was fucking, you got me.
Yeah. And that is the show. Thank you, everybody. So, Adam, tell us a little bit about you. This is truly 2 friends having a conversation.
Yeah. Sips topo.
You know.
I mean, tell you about me. Well, I mean, you know, I think there is a lot to unpack, and I feel like I've told, you know, a lot of my story in certain ways, you know, multiple times, you know, over, and it's not often that I actually sit and have a podcast with like a true, you know, like a true brother, right? Like somebody who I've spent, you know, a certain amount of time with, or put a certain amount of care into, or, you know, vice versa. So it's cool to like be able to like sit here and you know, maybe unpack some things and go a little deeper than I have. Like if there is, you know, those angles in my life that, you know, seem more interesting. I mean, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you know, I did not have, from the outside looking in, I had a very, you know, like the white picket fence, you know, the 2-story salt box, white picket fence, and a nice suburb. And really there was, you know, drug abuse going on. You know, there was physical abuse, mental abuse, a lot of things that were happening. And, I, as the baby of the family, kind of seeing all these other situations as a spectator, right? Because I'm not 6 years old with a drug problem. My brother, 13 years older than me, is.
Yeah.
Right? My sister, that's 10 years older than me, has an eating disorder.
Yeah.
My sister, you know, a couple years older than me, has like a learning disability, right? And I'm experiencing this from this observational deck that is, you know, the baby of the family kind of place, where it's like, yeah, you get an obscene amount of love from, you know, your mom or your dad in some manner because you are that baby, right? Some kind of almost like extra like money, or, you know, something kind of thrown your way because of the guilt that they don't have the same energy that they once used to maybe be the parent that they once used to be, while also observing adult shit that you shouldn't really be fucking seeing.
Yeah.
But luckily, I used it to make better decisions in my own life. And that's not to say that I didn't make a lot of bad decisions, but I also knew what those bad decisions would lead to if those bad decisions went from here and there to habitual and beyond, right? So it's like, sure, I've done drugs, but I would never, ever, or even become remotely close or have been remotely close in any manner to having any type of addiction to anything. other than maybe working out.
Yeah.
But at times I've been able to just give and take that too. It's like I got a little injury. I'm not the guy crying in the corner because I can't work out. So I've been having I've been given this, great opportunity in many ways to have an education, through experiences and through others, and acknowledging what it is that I want in my own life and what it is I don't want in my life, and how to proceed, in many ways with as much love, as I can, and as much strength as I have. And, that is what got me through Milwaukee and got me out of Milwaukee. Cause it can be kind of like an interesting place. Like it's got so much love. There's so much going on that's great about Milwaukee, but there's also just a sense of complacency and I don't blame most of the people. Like when you think about like the weather, the lack of sunlight, like seasonal depression, like all these types of things, the likelihood of alcoholism there is ridiculously high. I mean, my brother didn't have a chance. I mean, he was a statistic, so, I always knew that I wanted to do something great, right? And I didn't have an easy time making friends. I wasn't, Mr. Popular. People respected me in certain ways, or in some ways maybe even feared me at times in certain ways, because I was so kind of not totally normal, like just like the way I would react to things, and never like never like violent, but I was outspoken. I had never had a fucking filter. So making friends when I was growing up was a little challenging.
You're like a megaphone.
Yeah, man. Like I know who I am, like I am, like I was given a nickname on a TV show, Doses, cause it's like, you could take me in small doses was like her joke about that. Right. Yeah. And while I was on the TV show on NBC and like, really, I know that who it is that I'm too much for is their own insecurity of what it is that I know, or how much energy that they have. Cause it's like, I have a certain amount of fucking energy. I always have had this. So it's like when I came into something, it was always like, boom. And some people just aren't ready for that shit, And I think like with so much of my life, I actually tried to dumb myself down into that place. And in many ways, strong coffee was kind of everybody come up to like where I am, kind of like thought process, like, hey, everybody could be firing at this level. So there's a lot of other reasons, but in some ways that was a big piece of it.
So where do you think the self-awareness came that was her projection on you? And have you seen that? Have you learned from applying that in other places as well?
Whose projection on me?
Doses.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's because it is because of who I am. Like I am very meticulous. I have a very certain way of doing things, right? I don't like label myself like OCD or any of these other things, but there's a reason why anybody that is trained with me would say that I'm the best trainer they've ever been with, ever. I still get calls from people that know I do not train them. I do not train anymore and haven't trained in 6 years. And they're like, hey man, I'm going to be in Austin. Would you train me for 5 days? And I'm like, hey man, like I'll get you somebody that I believe in.
Yeah.
But like, I don't do that anymore, and that same type of meticulous, and obsessive nature over something can be too much for certain people who don't understand what it takes to get what they seek. When what they seek, I've already had, right? Like, so it's like, so you want this thing? I'm your fucking crystal ball here. You don't like what you're hearing? Most don't. Those that do will succeed, right? Those that don't like what they hear will continue to be where they are. Well, guess what? My girl learned that. She learned to listen. She ended up, even though she said what she said, she still did what I told her to, and she was around me for every fucking second. She had the best transformation of the whole show. Still to this day, she has the best, she's maintained the best body because I gave her the details. You know, I gave her too much information at that time. But give it 5-7 years for you to unpack it mentally. You know, it's like she had enough for that long, you know, for that a period of time. And that's how I get it. I mean, we were just talking to the dude at the shoe surgeon yesterday, you know, and he said the first time that he met me, he was kind of tired, right? And I was, you know, I'm talking, and he loves coffee, but he was like, man, it was just like so much. He's like, but then the next day, he's like, but I could tell you were passionate, but it was just so much. But then the next day I came in, I had a cup of your, you know, and you were there again. You were like on it, same guy. You were the same exact guy again. It's not you pretending to be somebody else. You were that same guy again. And this time I wanted a cup of coffee, right? But I was, you know, he was worried about heartburn. And I'm like, man, you won't get heartburn. I'm like, between the collagen and MCTs and the fiber, I'm like, it reduces the acidity points, you know, like balances it all out. I'm like, it's super easy on your stomach, your esophagus, all that stuff. So he tries it and he's like, man, no heartburn, no this, no that. Now he drinks 2 of these a day and he's able to have coffee and he loves it. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, but at that point then he was like, dude, I like you. You know, he like, you know, it was a whole shift of energy because he was like ready to like receive that. And now it's like he just knows who I am. So yesterday we were shooting the shit at their like basketball night, and we were just talking about random things, and he was just geeking the fuck out. And he like wants to introduce me to his dad to like help him with like a product. And it was just like, so that all being said, it's like, yeah, I may be too much for some, but like I'm not supposed to be for fucking everyone.
No, and that's a superpower knowing that. But let's walk it back a few steps, because we skipped this whole show that you were on. Because you're like, I was on a show, and I know this because I know the story, but the listener is going to be like, what are they talking about? So Adam was on a show. Is it on Netflix now, right?
Man,
it was on Netflix
they removed it.
Oh, they removed it?
Yeah, they only bought it for so long. But I mean, it was, yeah.
But it was an NBC show. You were a trainer, and it was a transformational show, and there was a group of you.
Yeah.
So just
it was a transformational challenge to proceed kind of competition, right?
And what was it called again?
It was called Strong.
Strong, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, was wild, right? It was, my life has very much had like these continuing reminders of these like movie moments where it's like, I started Strong Coffee Company the first time in 2013, shut it down. My daughter's born, my dad dies, you know, it's like boom, boom, boom. Then like 8 months later, I'm casted on a TV show called Strong, right? And it's like, whoa, you know, fucking small world,
yeah,
right? Not only am I casted, I'm cast. Like I make that shit. Like, you know, I am one of 10 people from around the entire country, you know, and Canada that they went through to find the 10 best trainers, you know, in the US. And we were paired with a girl, and I was paired with Cece, Claudia, and we competed to kind of continue on with the show while at the same time helping them lose weight. Which you went
like Biggest Loser style, or
they weren't like they were all about anywhere from like 30 to like 60, 70 pounds overweight. They really just needed like body mass index shifts, right? Things like that, where, you know, we had the time to do it. But the problem was you weren't going to get the time if you didn't win the competitions. So the people that were in the worst shape to start with really kind of like fell off pretty early on, right? And then they like kind of stayed like off camera and continued to train at this ranch while we continue to compete every week to try to keep ourselves on the show and our girl on the show and stay as a team so we can work with them. We're cooking their food. We're living all in these like these Jack and Jill suites where it's like, and really it was, you know, it was incredible to make it to like to the place that I always said I was going to, right? Because like as a young kid, I dreamt of being on the cover of a fitness magazine and being one of the top trainers, you know, in the world. I mean, that's something like I literally said around like the age of 13, you know, and while just reading like stacks of Ironman magazines gifted to me, you know, cover to cover multiple times and being like, man, I want to be one of these dudes.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be smart and I want to be jacked, you know, and I want to be all these fucking things. And Strong kind of let me prove that and show that, you know, at a really crazy level. And I mean, out of all people, like I belong there the most, but if you saw us all on paper, I belong there the least in the sense of like, I wasn't training Tom Cruise. I wasn't, you know, the head strength coach of fucking #1 football team in America. You know, I wasn't this.
You weren't the celebrity trainer.
I wasn't the
right?
celebrity trainer. I was the guy who thought differently, moved differently, talked differently than anybody else they talked to. I mean, everybody else was a carbon print of each other on that show.
Yeah.
It was like, doof, 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 doof. And then there was me.
The cookie
You know?
cutters, and then you.
Exactly. It was all super cookie cutter. I mean, there was one weird standout guy, Kai, who was like the Pilates guy who couldn't go across a pair of monkey bars. It was fucking, I was like, oh man. Anyways, you know, don't want to shame anybody in their monkey bar syndrome.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it was incredible being on that show and having that opportunity to get out there while also trying to teach somebody and at the same time resonating like throughout, you know, at one time we had 5.5 million viewers, you know, on a couple of the episodes. And it was wild that I was the star of the show. Right. And they kind of produced it in a way that they set themselves up for a problem because when I got hurt, like I would have been on the show till the end if I didn't get hurt. So I understood like the personality kind of thing and how they could sell me, you know, and that's what they did exactly. And the first 6 episodes, the viewership was very high. But then when I left the show, because I fractured my tibia, the last 5 weeks of the show were dog shit. Like when people were like, this guy's not coming back.
Did you fracture it on the show? Or
I fractured it on the show. So I banged my shin super hard in a competition and I won the competition still. The next morning, I really just needed like some peace of mind. I just felt like if I walked into this kitchen this early, like it was going to be all this kind of this fakeness and phoniness like thrown my way after beating everybody like the night before. Like nobody likes me here. You know, they're like literally saying, and like, which I got to see like when they showed the season. Yeah. You know, but like even some of the producers on the side, and this wasn't, I don't think it was part of the show because they were like low body nobodies kind of like on the production. And they come up to me and be like, dude, like, I'm sorry people are being such fucking assholes to you. They're like, I think you're awesome. They're like, your whole style's like super cool. And they're like, I watch you the whole time. They're like, you're always just, you know, courteous. They're just mad because you keep winning. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. But it was definitely challenging because there was like times that like I got death threats when the show came out. People like thought that I was racist for a minute. And because like the way they kind of made it look in this one episode, like I put like Benny and Leon against each other because they were black. And I was like, you know, it's like, you two are the strongest. And I'm pretty sure that Benny is the only one that could beat me in a foot race here. Yeah. Right? Like, I know I would dust your ass, Leon. Like, but you're stronger than me. Right? So if there's a thing that requires like sheer power and height within, you know, a competition, I'm worried about you. Benny, I'm worried about because he is stronger than me. And there might be a likelihood that he could be possibly faster than me. I'm like, I might be faster than him, but everybody else, I was like, I was fine. You know, so I'm like, of course I'm going to put these two guys against each other. They happen to be the only two black guys on the fucking show, though. And it was like...
This was more like an evolutionary, like, yo, how am I going to survive this? let's get the best two out of here as quick as possible.
Dude, I know. And like Betty and Leon kind of looked at each other. That's like, they perceived it as like the earlier. I was like, "Buh," and then it all fizzled out. But when the show came out, I mean, that shit literally, I like cried when they were like acting like that, and I was just like, oh my God, like, because I know who I am, but like the way that they were making it seem, and I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be like on camera. Like, how are they gonna make this look?
Because they have free reign to edit whatever.
And that's when I knew that I was not. So this is like literally in the first 2 nights. And that's when I knew that I was not on a training show. I was not on a show for the people of the best trainers in the world, right? Like, I do know where I stood in that, because like these are some of the most highly credentialed trainers out there. I mean, Benny Wiley is the head strength coach for USC. I mean, he was the strength coach for Oklahoma, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, like, Todd Durkin is like not Drew Bledsoe, but Breeze is, coach. I mean, tons of other people. I mean, super highly credentialed. But I was like, okay. I'm like, I see what the fuck's happening here. This is all a big psychological game. When we pulled up on set those first 2 days, they had this like whole beautiful like juice bar like set up like outside with like pineapples and all this like crazy shit like by the poolside and stuff. It was the next morning after that blow up. All that shit was gone. It was all just there to get like B-roll in the very beginning of like some stuff. And all of a sudden, like all that shit disappeared. And it was Jack and Jill Suites, a kitchen, a gym. You were mic'd up from, sometimes like 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m.
And it's recording everything.
And they're recording everything. And then you would like go home and take a nap. And we would sometimes compete at 1 a.m. because that was when it would be the quietest, the most dramatic lighting, because it's black outside and this is all outside, like in this mega dome that they fucking built in the middle of Malibu, in the canyon. And it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows. It was definitely like, it was definitely an experience, and one that I took all the good from it. Like, I truly believe out of any, like, Benny actually even told me, he's like, dude, he's like, out of anybody, you're the one that's fucking come up out of all this. He's like, I may have won the show. He's like, but I know that if you wouldn't have hurt your leg, you would have won the show. But he's like, when I look at you and what you've done with Strong Coffee, he's like, and where you came from, making $55 an hour as a trainer in the Midwest, to $200 an hour training YG, Ray Lewis, and these fucking people, to then starting Strong Coffee. It's like, yeah, man, I took that opportunity and I ran with that shit. I got myself on local news syndicates, talking about the show. They showed like live clips. I held like showings at bars locally. I took all that and just ran because, you only get 15 seconds.
And that's a responsibility that, you're truly an entrepreneur. But whenever we have that opportunity, take it, seize it, run with it. Use it
as far as
amplify it, because you just said you have your 15 seconds. You've got your 3 seconds. Before you know it, it's gone. It's fleeting. So you take every opportunity you have for whatever it is. Prior to that, you were fighting some MMA style. You had previous gym experiences. So how does all this start leading into that entrepreneurial spirit? Like, I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. We've helped each other. I've seen you grow this thing, but like, what are these lessons now? The baby of the family. You've dealt with some serious family issues. You've dealt with failed businesses. You've dealt with this show. What's the through line in the lessons other than you're very resilient? You get knocked down, you get back up. But like, what lessons can we start taking out of this? What is it that we're teaching people to move forward? How can we start applying this into our daily lives? Because even now, we were talking yesterday about some of the stuff you're dealing with Strong Coffee. So like, let's go into some of that hardship and that reality. And what are you doing to navigate that? Stay healthy, stay fit, stay operating out of love and out of fear as much as possible.
Yeah. That's a lot. But I'm willing to take it all on one at a time. I think you kind of hit it on the head. Like, I am super resilient. I have encountered crazy obstacles, you know, like thinking I'm flying somewhere to shoot with Rihanna for $20,000 when I don't even have $20 in my bank account, to then get a famous photographer trying to fucking sexually molest me while I'm sleeping.
Wow.
And that morning, getting my Rihanna shoot just magically canceled by this photographer.
Wow.
Right? I mean, there are things that
You didn't put out, it got canceled.
Yeah, I mean, me too, people. You know, like I fucking get it, you know, and there are plenty of things that I have had to moral check, you know, and continue to do the best thing that I possibly can, you know, to what I know is true, you know, staying true to myself. And what I know about myself is that I can endure, you know. I grew up in a family that, you know, my dad was physically abusive to me at times, you know, verbally abusive. And, you know, my brother was a similar way to me, but like in a more brotherly way, you know, like trying to like make me tougher with like the same kind of approach that my dad was doing, but like not from an angry side, but from like a positive side. So I just grew some really fucking thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was the kid that, you know, took a swing at my sister's boyfriend 3 years older than me, you know, when I'm in like, you know, 6th grade, you know, because he's talking shit to my sister. You know, I wasn't going to let anybody, you know, ever. And I think like there was something that I was kind of told by, you know, my dad. It was like, hey, nobody fucking walks on a Rothfelder, you know? And I'm like, yeah, you know, so I've kind of kept that to heart. And I mean, I stopped letting my dad walk on me when I was 15 years old and rock bottomed him in my bedroom, you know, after he backhanded me across the face so hard that he broke his watch, you know? And it was like, for saying fuck, I'm like, yo, man, I stubbed my fucking toe. Like, if I say fuck because I stubbed my toe hard in my bedroom, it's not like I'm swearing at people, you know?
Or like you told him, it's not like you said, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And he, you know, it was just like, you knew he was coming to beat your ass when you could hear his change coin in his pocket, like running up the stairs. It was the only time that I heard him running.
So would you say that was a culmination of pent up anger, a gut reaction, because that's how you were kind of wired, and did that lead into some of the fighting and
the rock bottom?
No, the reaction of knocking him out.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't want him to hit me again. I did whatever I could to just like minimize the damage by kind of grabbing him in like an arm triangle.
This is the last time, yeah.
Yeah, kind of grabbing him in an arm triangle and like putting him down on the ground so he doesn't try to like wrestle with me, you know, at the same time, because like if he does, I might hurt him. Because, I mean, I'm strong as fuck at this point. Like, as a 15-year-old kid, I've been hitting the weight room since I was 12, you know, and taking creatine at 13 years old. Like, it was just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to get strong, you know. So, I mean, when I had martial arts experience. You know, as a gymnast, I was a high-level soccer player. I kind of had, like, all the tools to be a really good fighter. You know, like I had hand-eye coordination, foot coordination, super long orangutan arms. I mean, we already talked about these things, you know. I surprised people all the time that were 4 inches taller than me in the ring. It would boom. They'd be like, what the fuck did this come from? You know, that quick little jab I had, you know, and I, you know, when I think about like what you said, like you know, to answer your question, you know, the question that you had is like, to get through life, you have to be willing to accept the fact that pain is part of it, right? And if you think that like you're supposed to come out without scars,
unscathed,
then you're just like, you're not gonna fucking make it, right? Like, I never imagined that my life would be this fucking hard, you know, but every time something has come, I have proven to myself that I'm strong enough to continue. And that in itself is the feedback that you need to take on the next thing that you will take on. And if you're anything like me, it's going to be harder. It's going to be bigger, right? Like I said I was going to be the best trainer in the fucking country. I did that shit. I said I was going to be on a magazine. I did that shit. When I set out and I started modeling out of a random occurrence to meet an agent, told me to lose 25 pounds. I lost 25 pounds in 35 days, came back. He sent me to New York. 2 years later, I'm walking Marc Jacobs, shooting with Harper's Bazaar. That Rihanna situation happened. My name got put on ice. The Me Too situation happened. And all of a sudden, people had phone numbers again. And all of a sudden, I'm modeling back-to-back campaigns for Versace. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I sought out to model, and anything I'm going to do it to a certain fucking level. And because my belief is that, I can, which is why I try, which is why I do. It's like if there's something I don't believe I can do, not because I have a limiting belief, but because it's something I don't want bad enough, then I'm not even going to fucking try. So many people waste their times on things that they don't really even want.
I know, right? To satisfy a conversation, a validation for somebody else to either accept you because you don't accept yourself, and you don't even care if they actually accept you because you just think you want that, right? It's like, I need this so that they say, hey, nice watch.
Totally. Totally. It's 100%. I think people all too often, I had this incredible conversation, a little sidetrack, but I had this incredible conversation with this guy named Arthur Rapkin. He's actually be coming out with a book soon and quite possibly a show and maybe even a movie. And I was his trainer for a couple years. And sorry, that topo is making me burp a little. I was in Milwaukee at the time, and I was introduced to Arthur by his son, his son was like a club promoter I knew. He's like, hey, my dad's super fucking crotchety, but like deep down a good guy. He's been through a lot of shit. He doesn't trust anybody because he's, Dr. Arthur Rapkin, it's, and number one acupuncture clinic in America, blah, blah, blah. Nobody can tell him shit. So I became his trainer, and he respected the shit out of me. Like he invited me to trips and just loved me. And it was reciprocal because like I felt like he brought something to the table, and he was somebody that respected me, but was like doing really great things. And I talked to him the other day. We were at a serving in Scottsdale, Arizona, just, like last week. And he called me up and he's like, hey, can you talk? He's like getting to his 80s, and he's got some things going on. He's got this like disease where like his muscles are kind of like eroding, like where they're not, his nervous system is like kind of, man, this story is crazy. I mean, like served like years in a Colombian prison for like smuggling like cocaine and had his fingers hammered. He's got like a finger that's like fully flat, like here from it being hammered numerous times. Had his testicles fucking electrocuted. I mean, like crazy shit. Jesus. I mean, he sent me his memoirs and I read it, and it was just
like when spies are tortured.
No doubt. No, that is exactly what happened because they wanted to know where he was getting the drugs from, and he never ratted, and he served a fucking full sentence in a Colombian prison for what he had, and got out and changed his life. And he told me, Adam, I was making millions of dollars and this and that. He's like, but the stress. So I could have what? A nicer car, a this, that. He's like, I would have been just as happy making $80,000 a year in a small clinic, and he's like, I probably would be a lot healthier too. And I was like, whoa, it's important to know that why you want something.
Yeah. Why do you want it?
Right? Like I don't actually want Strong Coffee to be one of the biggest coffee companies in the world so I can drive a Ferrari. I mean, you know what kind of car I drive.
Yeah.
I drive a 2009 Ford Econoline work van that was converted from an AT&T Mobile.
With the Strong Coffee decal.
With a Strong Coffee decal, and like turned out into a little convertible camper that I did for like $10,000 extra and some hard fucking work.
Yeah, and I think you left last week to arrive here today to be on the show.
Basically, so it's like, that's not why I do it. Why I do it is because I see people drinking sugary, disgusting shit in the morning, harming their health, starting their day the wrong way, and effectively it, affects the rest of their day. It's like start weak, finish weak, start strong, finish strong, right? And it's like, I'm the only one that's going to fucking do it. Everybody else is just worried about product sales. I'm worried about product, efficacy. I'm worried about it working. It's like we can worry about sales when we know that this product actually does what we say it does and that it tastes the way we want it to taste. And, that's why I do it.
And where the ingredients come from.
Where they come from, yeah.
So
like, I don't give a shit if I own 1% of the company at some point. I will continue to just drive this nail until it becomes the coffin in a company like Starbucks, right? Because they know better and they are not doing better. And their half-ass efforts and companies that are corporate like that don't come from the heart. And that's, I think, the thing that me and you acknowledge the most. And that's what strong coffee comes from. Mm-hmm. We have 2 coffee beans making a heart. That's where we've always come from, and it's like, so we come from a place of love, right? And strong coffee gives you energy, time, and so much more. Yeah,
no, like I say, it ruined me for coffee, but it validated, like I love lattes. I was always the latte guy. When I used to be a personal trainer at LA Fitness, there's a coffee bean right next to it. I would get the no sugar added vanilla latte, like money every day.
Loaded with sucralose.
Yeah, every day I would get one though, and I'm fit and I'm healthy. I'm like, look, let this be one of my things. And I wasn't super, we were talking, 15 or so years ago where it's not as healthy as it is now. I knew my health stuff, but like, okay, let me get the whole milk. I know what's in there. Let me do the non-sugar, this and that. And it gave me my fix in the crash, and I knew that. Now I think about what I used to drink, and I'm disgusted. I think back of what I ate as a kid. Hot Pockets. As a kid, I'm like, ooh, that's delicious. Yeah. Adult Ruben's like, that's disgusting. Why did I eat that?
Do you ever, do you recall, like, when you think back to it, like being extra phlegmier? When you were drinking those lattes or something?
A little bit. I think a little more saliva-y, thicker saliva. And just that little bit of, I've been blessed with genetics. I've always been very lean, but it'd be that little bit of extra, that fluff. Like everyone would be like, Ruben, you're crazy. Yes, okay, my body dysmorphia is triggered here, but like that extra little something, like, but I want that latte. Like I just enjoyed coffee. But now I drink this. I have one almost every single day. I know it's giving me some calories. If I'm needing a little extra boost, I have one. And it's not because of the caffeine or any of that. I like the flavor. I like what I feel. It's a little extra protein. There's some calories in it. But it just makes me feel good. And that's, at the end of the day, what matters. And no, this is not a strong coffee commercial. And no, he's not paying me.
Yeah.
Before he's gotten this big, he's been sharing it with me. And I've told him. And I'm happy to support and share it as often as I do.
I remember the first conversation we had about you trying it. I made you a cup and you were on the squat rack. You tried it. You're like, I don't know what it is. It's coffee? You're like, but it's delicious, And I was like, well, that's all that matters, And we've done like 30 reiterations since that time. I mean, you had it like the first.
Yeah, I've gone through all the different versions of morning fix, more vanilla, less vanilla, aftertaste, and I'm like, yo, Adam, what'd you change? Well, we did. I'm like, yeah, I could tell. Yeah, like I always call you and tell you that.
Yep.
But it's always changing it for the better or more efficiency or effectiveness or whatever the case is. But I've even been on one of your strong T-shirts. You put me on the T-shirt.
Yeah, that was the shit, man.
Yeah, people love that shirt.
Somebody tagged that. Yeah, I've had plenty of people tag, but somebody just tagged it recently. I mean that shirt's almost 5 years old. Mm-hmm. I had this cool idea. I was like, yo, why don't we feature our ambassadors on our T-shirts? And and like nobody else was doing that. Like nobody was doing that kind of stuff. And I think that was like the thing that kind of really separated me from other founders is that I like to say like I didn't come from like this like polo shirt wearing frat, that found a market fit product and did a reverse study and went and got $2-3 million to fund an initial, seed project. Mm-hmm. It was like, no, this was something I was doing every day. and ultimately like it became a product, and you were there throughout the, entire discovery of it, kind of shaping. We were serving at Deuce just the other morning, and there was like a crowd of people, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, it's funny. I actually used to sit at this table with my laptop and work on the website in between clients, and now we're, in Whole Foods, or we're, an Amazon Choice, we're a top 1% store in Shopify for, the year we launched. I mean, it's like, it's been pretty cool. It's been amazing for me to also just transition and like ultimately continue to challenge myself. I don't see there ever being a day that I actually get bored of doing what I do now, creating shit and helping people.
Yeah. And I'm going to dumb it down a little bit. There's tons of coffee companies out there. There's tons of products. Like one of my friends is Dr. Jason Worsland of Therabody, right? There's so many copycats of the Theragun, and there's Hyper Ice and different companies. Ultimately, what it comes down to, any founder with any idea is execution, belief, vision, and passion for it. So you created a mixture of coffee, which you can look and be like, other people have done bulletproof coffee it's in the similar space, right?
Yeah.
Or this one has a little chaga in it, or this one has this in it, or this one has that in it. I don't think it's so much just about the product. It's really the founder, the culture, what's being put behind it, and then everything else, branding and name recognition and all that. So what are some of the things that person in the audience that's like, I've got this idea, but there's like so many of them. What can I do to launch it? Like, what's that courageous thing we can tell them? Be like, yo, take your idea and run with it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the 0 to 1 stage, is cool, man. That's the fucker.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like they say, a lot of you've heard people say like, oh, anybody can start a fucking company. That's not actually true, right? Like really starting a company and executing a product, that requires a plan. It requires courage. There's a lot of things that it takes to get it out there. It's something that I struggled with. I actually held off initially for like a month on releasing Strong Coffee because I was worried that my peers would judge some of the ingredients possibly, right? Because they were all very good ingredients, but would they meet their standards?
Like monk fruit extract or
Exactly.
coconut sugar or whatever the case.
Coconut sugar was the one, was a big one, right? And I wasn't willing to not have it because I love coconut palm sugar. Just a little bit, just like a little bit, okay? Nothing that's going to destroy you. But
you're not getting diabetes from it.
No. And so I was really worried about that. And I was worried about if like the organic Mexican coffee was going to be a problem because it's not Colombian at the minimum, or this or that. So I was worried that like coffee snobs, and I'm like, well, are you really trying to sell coffee to coffee snobs?
No.
Like who you're selling this to, right? I think ultimately what you need to do is you need to have a really strong why, right? And if your why is weak, then find a new one, because like if your plan is to start a company and put something out there, you'll always have to come back to that why you're doing it. Right. And then it won't matter what you're doing. Right. It won't matter if you start a detailing company and write an article on a website and write another article, buy an ad, and all of a sudden you're the number one detailing company in Scottsdale, Arizona. Right. And like, that's the true story of a friend who moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, was like, I'm going to start a detailing company, did it, got one client, wrote an article, did it again, stamp, repeat. It just started with that like one thing. I think James Clear talks about that idea is like, if you're going to do something, make sure that the initial step only takes 2 minutes. So if I was to tell you to start a company, the initial step would be like, go on GoDaddy and buy the website of the business you're going to start.
Yep.
You could get that done in 2 minutes. And that right there is your starting point. Because now you know that that idea is available, right? You know that you can take action, right? You just proved to yourself you are doing it. You are not trying anymore, right? So that little step can be everything to somebody who just wants to start a company.
Yeah.
I just want to do this thing. I got this idea. Well, that's it right there, man. Because if you do that, the reward you'll get from buying that site will then get you to go maybe to Instagram next. Make sure that that's free. God, that was only 2 more minutes, right? Okay, next step. You know, you just keep going from
Log
there.
into Shopify. It might take 5 minutes to link things up.
Yeah,
there,
yeah, but now
boom,
you've graduated,
now
man.
You don't have to even have your corporate structure yet or
No,
anything.
you do
could
not.
just have an account and you get paid.
Yeah.
People think, oh, I need this and I need that. And I'm like, no, but if you want to go do that too,
Yeah.
go on LegalZoom, LLC. 20 minutes later, there it is.
Totally.
So
I mean,
it's
trust me, if you get a couple of sales before opening up an LLC, it's not a problem. You and an LLC are ultimately the same exact thing, except you have a small bit of liability coverage based off of being, tax creditors or some shit, of some sort. But like, getting into the weeds of like starting a company, without getting into those weeds, I think that ultimately it's really just about, making sure that your why is solid. Every morning I wake up and I wake up my whys, right? My kids aren't going anywhere, bro. That why is for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Like, that has always been my why. I was happy being a trainer,
Yeah.
right? It was the fact that I couldn't see my kids anymore
Yeah.
because the level at trainer that I was getting to was like private jets and go be gone for 6 months, out of the year.
That's your physical time gone.
Gone.
And that's not a scalable thing either.
No, it's
You
not.
could charge more,
No.
but those hours are still those hours.
You're making
and your body is your body.
$180,000 a year for the rest of your life. And look, anybody hearing that, don't think I'm an asshole by saying that that's not enough, because that's not what I'm saying.
It's not enough.
I would have rather made $80,000 a year and know that I was going to be home every day
Yeah.
at a certain time, and that I wouldn't have to stress out about something. Strong coffee has not given me, the mental freedom that I need, but it has given me the physical ability to be around. And I have learned that if I can even just give my kids 10 minutes when they ask me for their attention, that sometimes 5 minutes is all they needed, right? And if I'm there for that, I know my kid is going to grow up exactly how I want them to be and be such a better fucking version of myself, which is all I hope for, right? Like, that is truly all I hope for. I am better than my dad, right? My dad was better than his dad, right? Like, and it's just, if I can be this awesome father to them, they will pick an incredible person one day to be their partner, and the cycle of abuse and these other things will be gone, right? And that to me is love, right? Like, that to me is why I'm doing this, right? Because like, being gone all the time, I'd be stressed out. I'd come home kind of like frustrated, and it wasn't frustrated at them. I felt guilty, right, for missing so much. Being on that TV show, dude, I didn't see my kids for 3 months.
I can't imagine.
Right? Like, and that kind of shit, I did the math. My daughters are 9 and 8 at this time. I've missed almost a year of their life.
Damn.
In travel. So it's been, I'm less than 3 weeks away from missing them for an entire year.
Yeah, you know what's wild about that? Because you could rationalize it. Oh, it's a year. They'll be around. They're going to outlive me. But they're only that little for that long. You're going to be with them more as they are individually adults and on their own, which is completely different. Like, even Jordan Peterson says this thing it's like the first 4 years are like everything. After that, it's different. You have to be there those first 4 years. Like, my son's 2, and those, like, we've taken him everywhere. I can't imagine missing. I don't think I've missed more than maybe 2 or 3 days in a row for something, and that's it. And
yeah. Well, I mean, and I know that they're gonna be around. Like, I'll have plenty. They'll be around. I don't know how long I will be.
no, correct.
Right. So it's like, I believe that I have to give them everything that I have right now. Right.
But as girls, right? Later, they're going to be women.
Oh, totally.
They're still their own spirit. But what I'm saying to honor this is they're only little kids for so long. They're humans and adults in here for so much longer.
For sure.
So yes, we have quote unquote time because we don't know when we're gone, but they're only little kids for so long.
Totally. I mean, I love when they want to like sleep with me.
Every night, little
8 and 9, they still want to like, you know, lay on a beanbag with me or like curl up in bed with me or, you know, and it's just like that. Yeah, you do only get that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen some really incredible like families where, you know, the 20-year-old daughter still like jumps into bed with like mom and like curls up with her and like, you know, loves her and wakes her up that way when visiting from school and like that kind of stuff is amazing. It's like you did a good job.
Yeah.
Like you showed them where they can always feel safe.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing is, you know, I never, you know, I didn't feel safe really like around my dad, you know, because like I never knew when he was going to fucking snap, you know, I never knew when I was going to do something wrong. So half the time I didn't know what was going on, you know, where it's like,
we're doing everything wrong at those ages, right?
Right. Exactly. I'm an ADHD kid. I mean, I'm sure I was intolerable in certain senses of just like energy and talking, you know, but my kids, like I look at them, everything that they're doing. And it's not like I think that everything they do is perfect, but I don't, you know, thus far, like they're like the kids that get the award in school for being like having the best manners. And I'm like, awesome. I did it. Right. Because I was the kid that got in trouble for swearing and talking back to teachers, you know? So I didn't want to have I didn't want to have one of those.
No. And I feel it's like, okay, maybe my son's not the smartest or the best or this, but then they'll always say he was the kindest kid.
Yeah.
Like that right there, I think.
I saw him licking markers yesterday. He's a genius, obviously. No.
He's actually really smart, very athletic, and I have high hopes.
Yeah, exactly.
But you never know. There's,
how tall
there's
is
no
he?
pressure.
How tall is he?
He's 3 feet tall.
No, how tall is Z?
Oh, how tall is Z? 5'6", 5'5"? I don't remember.
I mean, what are we thinking? Like hockey player? I mean, you don't think basketball player? Come on.
No. I'm shooting for soccer, actually.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, he's got the hair.
The global reach of soccer.
He's got the hair, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big part of it. Like Alexia Volas was like 10% soccer, 90% hair.
So he's there.
Yeah, he's there. He's got this.
You see him dribble ball too.
Your
He's in
son will be
soccer
fine.
every Saturday now.
Yeah, he does. He's got some good. Well, last time I saw him, actually, he was only crawling, and now he's walking like a champ. So
I'll show you some of these videos. But no, but either way, I think what's the measure of what we're putting in our kids and not validating our losses, past weaknesses, failures, and putting that on them. As an example, you know, dads could get lost in the glory they never reached as an athlete and put all that pressure on their kid and validate themselves through their kid. And it's not even about the kid. And then the kid's going to hate the sport potentially. Yeah. That's a whole other set of things. So, if he wins the kindness award and that's it, dude, we won there.
Yeah.
It's a kind human is going to.
Well, it's interesting too. You know, I mean, I haven't just been, you know, most parents at this point to their children have only really been parents to their children, where I've been in many ways their teacher. I mean, I you know, homeschooling for almost 2 years, right? And, you know, which I got to help out on, which was awesome. But running a business from home. I mean, the way my daughter's brains work around ideas and solutions and thoughts, they sound like they've gone to like a semester or two of business school. So like my daughter's 9 and she created a stuffed animal called a mushroom. And she wanted to make them out of tube socks and make tube socks to look like mushrooms and then put faces on them and stuff. And she made like 15 of these and sold them at her school for like $5 a mushroom. And the socks probably costed like $7 each. So we lost money, but she's working on the analytical side. But it's cool because like just kind of seeing them express their want to like learn about money, learn about product development. They both actually really like making ads on Canva for Strong Coffee. It usually involves a cat, but I'm going to start running some of the ads.
See what happens.
I think I might do like a video like, hey, my kids made these ads for my coffee company. Check them out. You know, think I might do something like that. And just let the cats licking coffee and
Let the data say what the data says, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, if the kids like it, I mean, maybe it's a thing, you know. Their intuition is pretty fucking strong. But it's awesome to see that development, and I'm glad that my kids have been able to see that because like I didn't see what my dad did at all, right? He just like went to work and then he came home. I knew what he did, but like I couldn't do what he does in any manner. But my kids could kind of do what I do. You know, I mean, my kids like have packed boxes and orders. You know, that's been stuff they've done when they got off of school before. You know, my kids have ran the register at an event. Like my daughter Arrow legit ran the register at an event for 3 hours without us helping her at the age of 7 years old. She was like, leave me alone, Mom, I got it. You know, she's like taking cash, running credit cards. Every once in a while, they like give her a 20 and she'd be like, Dad, how much money do I give him back? I'd be like, hold on, let me get a calculator. I'm like, shit, I don't know.
Let me show you this too.
Yeah, so it's so that's been pretty awesome. So I think like thus far I've you know, as a parent I've done a pretty awesome job. And I have an awesome co-parent, which makes it way fucking easier.
Shout out to wifey.
Shout out to Mrs. Von Rothfelder.
Yeah. So entrepreneur life, strong why. Your why revolves around your kids and your family and the mission. What about, you know, you've gotten investors. You've been scaling this business. You have gotten into stores. And I mean, I know the complications. I'm trying to do all these things myself and the multiple facets of my business that I've got going on. And then what happens when, you know, they rescind the orders or you're cash strapped? Like, how are you dealing with those pressures and those things that are happening and navigating those waters? Because at the end of the day, shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
How do we keep moving forward?
You grab a big patch of hair on your head, and you just rip it all out just briskly, and you yell to the moon. Yeah, you know, so I know what you're speaking of. Yeah, so I mean, Strong Coffee in the time that it's been around has done like crazy shit, you know? I mean, remarkable things, really. I don't think I can name, or that Whole Foods could actually name, a single brand that they launched globally in coffee other than Strong Coffee in the lifetime of their coffee. So at the time, we were all direct to consumer, and that was like something that was a focus because I really believe in trying to pass off the savings to the consumer and like creating a better product value and being able to get to know the community, right? Like if I put it in a store and you buy it, I don't know that. I don't know you. I don't get to talk to you. I don't get to send you a cool motivational letter or a sale on our product or a release of a new flavor or information of why collagen works, you know? So there are all these things that really are important when you think about building a brand, right? Like, which is what I've always wanted to do, right? Because a brand can be so much more, right? It's like Batman. It's like, you know, it's more than just a product. It's a place. So when we got into Whole Foods, man, I mean, that in itself was crazy. I mean, getting in there, I worked on that for almost a year. And I was working with this awesome girl that worked there at the time. And she was telling me that they had this whole vision of creating this functional coffee section with the top functional coffee brands. And one of the Karma.
How many functional coffee brands are there?
There was like not that many, but like they also were like mixing in like higher end instant coffees and coffees that had different ways of prepping them that weren't normal. Like, have you ever seen that brand of coffee that like has a tent that like pulls across your mug and then you pour the water over the tent. Mm-hmm. So that was like in there, right? Vital Proteins was in there. I mean, $1 billion brand, you know, had a product sitting in there, instant coffee with collagen. Mm-hmm. We crushed them, right? By 4 times revenue, right? But we had to get in there first. So let me tell that. So I'm sitting at the CrossFit Games and I am on a countdown that if I literally don't get a couple $100,000 landed because nobody will give me fucking financing on these POs because there are no POs. Whole Foods is like, hasn't even sent us POs at this time, but we're supposed to have this magical amount of product in which we don't even really know how much to be done in a certain period of time when they're going to pick it up.
What's a PO for those that don't know?
A purchase order, right? $763,000 worth. And then they finally send us the POs with like very little time. I luckily actually was pretty close to guessing based off of how many stores they had, how many products would fit in a case, I like went and measured shelves at 3 different Whole Foods to figure out how the average of their shelf depth to be like, okay, well, they would get this many boxes on there. So I think they get like 2 cases. And since they don't hold back stock, you know, it's like, well, we ended up being like a couple weeks late on the first delivery, which then they fined us for being late. And even though we were late because they were late, right? And I'm like, okay, sounds like a fucking airline.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't be late, we can be late. You know? You pay full price, always.
Yep.
We don't even have to refund, you know, I mean, whatever.
We'll just cancel on you too.
Yeah, we'll just cancel and you have nothing to say about it.
Now you're stuck here.
Right.
I don't care if your dad died and you have a funeral.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking awful. So we get into Whole Foods though. And at the time, there's a lot of coincidences that are going on during this moment. We get in, we're late. We get fined for being late. We probably lose like $20,000, $30,000 or something like that for this fine. And then we're like trying to log into this system that gives us visibility of velocity on the shelf, right? So it's like velocity is how much product is selling, how fast, right? And we can't get in, we can't log in, right? During that time, we're also receiving these emails from Whole Foods and they're like, this distribution center is low. When are you going to send this product? We're like, hey man, like we just fucking send product. Like, what are you talking about? You know? Hey, this distribution center is low. When are you going to send this product? And we're like, we just fucking send product. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that was like a month ago. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe we're really selling this fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the same time, we just got mentioned on Joe Rogan. And our sales online went up significantly. Significantly enough that I was like, if the same amount of sales just went into Whole Foods, this could possibly make sense of why we're now getting a $1.2 million fucking reorder.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like thinking I should buy a Ferrari.
It's almost double.
I'm like, holy shit, we're about to make a lot of money. Strong Coffee is blowing up. All the hard work. And no, I wouldn't buy a Ferrari. I was like, man, maybe I'll buy a 2012 40 Econoline.
Maybe I'll just get a paint job.
Maybe I'll just get a paint job. It is rusting in the one corner.
Paint it red.
I'm so sad that it's just slightly rusted.
Put a little clear coat on there.
I was thinking you could just like do a little clear coat on it with something you got, and maybe like write like a little ouch with like love on it.
A lot of spray paint in the corner.
We got plenty of spray paint. So we get this giant reorder, right? And we call, when it's first delivered to me by my wholesale manager, he seemed like he was like fucking scared of something. And I mean, now looking back at it, like I totally makes sense. But he was like, yeah, we just got this reorder. And I'm like, Jesus, man. I'm like, you made it sound like something awful just happened. I'm like, how much? He's like, a lot. And I was like, well, how much? He's like $1.2 million in fucking product. And I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, that's like $700,000 in production.
How many bags is that?
Dude, it was 90, let's just call it 100,000 boxes of Strong Coffee.
Wow.
So roughly 35,000 each. right? 38, 40,000 of each, roughly. So it's a lot of coffee. So we call up like this person, an SRM. It's like your account manager for Unify, which is like who holds your shit. Like, right? Like Whole Foods doesn't actually call themselves like a grocery store. It's like a food retail. It's like a retailer, right? Like they don't actually sell anything of yours. They just put it on a shelf, right? There's no like salesman. This isn't like a fucking, there is no help, right? It's a store. People are there, but nobody's home.
They just tell you where the stuff might be, but that's it. They're not like, you should buy this, and this is why.
Ever.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So we get this massive reorder. We call all the people. We call up Whole Foods even. And we're like, yeah, this seems right. Okay, cool. So we press the button and make a shitload of product. And let's call it Tuesday. The Unified driver is supposed to come pick it up, and he got lost. He's like, hey, it's getting a little late. I'm just going to go park. I'll come back in the morning, and I'll come grab it. He's driving there in the morning, and he's like, emails like a question, like something about like a doc or whatever. Somebody from Whole Foods that I've never fucking heard of. I've never seen, never talked to. Didn't even know she was on this thread. She must have been like blind carbon. Like, I don't know where she came from. All of a sudden she's like, hey, fellas, why are we getting all this coffee? We don't need any of it. And, well, because you ordered it. You gave us 13 purchase orders totaling $1.2 million. So they're like, oh, hold on, a second here.
And
like,
you confirmed it and all that too, yeah.
They're like, let's figure this out. So we're like, well, we're going to put these on hold. We're not going to cancel them. I was like, okay. Sounds like we're fucking canceled, but yeah, sure, hold sounds great. I've had a TV show on hold before. I know what that means, right? It means they don't want to tell me it's canceled until they have their liabilities covered of some sort. So
let's get through legal first.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's call legal. Let's see what the fuck's going on. So like 4 weeks later, and a conversation with somebody at Whole Foods that verbally told me, you don't want to make us take this. Sounded like a threat to me. You don't want to make us take this. Right? So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I could make you take this.
Because technically the email chains and everything, someone placed the order and it was confirmed.
Somebody placed this fucking order.
Yeah.
Right? So they canceled all the POs. And we, absorbed a $700,000 loss, basically. I mean, we have all the product and we're selling it, but it's way over the amount of product that we need, in our current time. So now we're paying crazy storage fees to hold it. We're having to get hyper creative with different sales channels to try to move the inventory faster, right? And Whole Foods somehow is like just fucking walking around, with...
what's interesting?
And it's so real quick. So hold on to what you were going to say. But so when, then they're like, a couple months later, we're like, we have no money to like spend on promotions, ads, or anything. They send us a fucking global discontinuation note. They don't even respond to a single email for over 14 weeks after I put together this whole fucking report showing their lack of communication, their POs, like what they did to us, why we're not doing promotions. Finally, get on a fucking call with these people. And they're like, I was about to go into full like litigation mode. If there would have been something that I would have been, if it would have been ever a heartless capitalist in some kind of manner, I would have been a fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm about to go into this mode and just lay it out. And they're like, so we've decided to recall the discontinuation. We're not going to discontinue you. Right? We're going to bring you back in the store and we're going to keep you on clearance pricing to try to move some of this inventory until, January. Cool. So we start running a couple more promotions, and they're like, hey, you're about 0.5 units per store per week, per store per SKU per week from being where you need to be. 0.5, right?
It's a small number, right?
Small number. If we had $1.2 million, I bet we'd be there. Right? I bet if I had $500,000 and $600,000 in profit from that sale, I bet I could have probably spent an extra $200,000 on promotions and got us there. Probably could have put out a whole fucking national demo team.
Yeah.
When we demo, on average, we sell 6 units of product per demo, right? In one sitting, 1 3-hour sitting, we'll sell 6 units because the coffee tastes that good when people fucking try it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they tell us now again that they're going to discontinue us in October. If they can't get us to switch into supplements, so they're like, hey, we're going to introduce you to this person. That phone call was fucking 2 weeks ago, and I still have not gotten an introduction to that person. All I've done is get shit to you as fast as possible, make product you have asked me to make, run promotions and go into further debt to run these promotions on a product that you continue to hold over our head as something we have to sell. Mm-hmm. You don't even have a fucking sign in your store that says functional coffee here. We're literally in a coffee section. And because we got clearance, when we got put back on the shelf where we belong, we got put on the bottom of the fucking shelf. I am not fucking shoe kicking territory type product. Mm-hmm. I'm belt height. Like, fuck no. I'm too vain for that shit. Get my stuff out of your store. Like, I don't even want to be in that spot. Because like, I do know where we belong. I mean, we're at Sun Life Organics, right? It's featured in Vogue magazine. If I don't see our product in the middle shelf at Sun Life, I literally text the owner. I'm like, yo, man, our product's way too good to be on the second to bottom shelf ever. And it's like it's not sales that dictate it. It's like somebody who stocked the shelf real quick, whatever. But I'm just like, no, I value what I've done. And after going through with Strong Coffee, with Whole Foods, what I've gone through, if you're like going to be my retail partner, of any kind of nature, I will never go with somebody like that again. That's like a lesson I learned. It was fucking crazy. Crazy. And I'm still going through it, and I'm learning a lot. I mean, learning so much from it, which is how I have to continue to look at it. And it is how I look at it. Like, I don't have to, I choose to. I choose to look at things as a lesson. And, there's so much.
Choosing the lens of love.
Yeah, man, there's been so many, hard things and just sad things that have like come my way. And, so many people have had those things, but like, we're talking about me right now, right? It's like, I lost my brother. I lost, my dad, I've lost multiple friends, it's like, I've lost opportunities to change my family's life with crazy photo shoots and things like that. And Strong Coffee is to be, like, I am exactly what Strong Coffee wants me and needs me to be, right? Like, strong, like, continue to be resilient. Mm-hmm. Because like so many other people, it's not that they've failed because there was no option to continue. They choose to quit, right? And I think that's like what, 70% of all businesses that started 5 years ago with me failed already. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's really just because they chose not to continue, or didn't see a way, and it's because like, if you're thinking all this is happening to you instead of for you, yeah, I mean, you're going to fucking give up.
Yeah.
So I'm still standing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got close to putting the clothing in certain areas and people are like, don't do it. They'll do a PO. They'll send it all back, yada, yada, plus the hoops to get it through. And then you have to buy SKUs and get on the global SKU system. And then it's like, there's so much that people don't realize or what goes in. So shout out to every brand that's ever made it anywhere and is keep thriving. But does this ever, are you going back DTC focus or like, is there a Sprouts? You were at Air One. Is Air One still on the table? Are there other market opportunities?
Dude,
is a Target
One, man,
an opportunity?
I hope somebody from Air One hears this, right? Air One was a great store for us to be in. We were doing very well there. we were only there for 6 months before COVID. They wanted us to run a sampling system with individual packets. We did not have individual packets at the time. We now have plenty of individual packets.
Yeah, I remember the shortage on like, where are the travel packs, Adam? I'm traveling.
I would literally fill every Erewhon for free if they hit me up and we're like, let's get it back on the shelf. I'll tell you, the entire cast of Selling Sunset was very disappointed that Strong Coffee was not at Erewhon anymore. It had nothing to do with performance. It had to do with us not being able to sample and then not pay their promotional sampling fee. And that's where grocery stores really make money, right? Because like nobody's really making like full margins. You know, it's like, hey, this grocery store, they paid $10 for this thing that you paid $5 to make. But after shipping, you know, after freight charge, you know, after freight and docking charges, you really are only making like $3.50, right? And then maybe if you run a promotion on items, you're going to level out and you're really only made like $1.50 per unit, right? But you sold 100,000 of them, you know, cool. You made $150,000.
Yeah.
That grocery store probably only made the same amount because after they pay their employees to stock the product, after they lose a certain amount of shit, throw away a certain amount of shit, whatever it is, right? So it's like, I understand why they were doing it. We just couldn't like bend at the time. Where it's like a company like Mudwater selling a dog shit product is just fucking handing the shit away for free at Erewhon. Like, cool, you could just afford to hand this stuff out for free. Like, okay. Like, that's what you want to do, dude. You know, I mean, must not be very good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what I say. So I think that being able to get into a store like that again with the product that we have now with the individual travel packs, we would no doubt stand out there because they don't have something like that. We were just at an Erewhon the other day and I was like, damn, I wish we were still in this store. Not because it was like some super high volume store, right? But because it's a great store to be in because I love shopping there, you know, going there, picking it out, seeing the product. And I know so many friends of mine love shopping there and being able to pick it up there.
I know. We've gone there and bought it for you.
I know you
We've done
have.
videos. I remember doing all that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Friends support friends. You got to show up. Like, the best thing you can do is put it out there. Share it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
the
create it, right? And do it for the right reasons, right? And it's like, as long as you know what that is. I mean, I think like you'll see a lot of companies that you see right now. If you ever wonder like, man, how'd that company fold or like whatever it is, it's like more than likely they weren't doing it for the right reasons, you know, or it wasn't authentic to who they are.
If you do anything for money, for the most part, I don't think it's, I'll use diet as an example. You can't out-train a bad diet.
No.
You just can't. Genetics will help you look pretty damn close to out-training the diet.
Yeah.
But you can't do it. Just like you can't out-make money for something you don't have passion or a why for because you're going to burn out. It's going to be a lot of churn and burn. It's going to, like, you're not going to have company culture or people wanting to be there.
Yep. Totally.
But would Strong ever be in a Costco? That's a volume play, but I hear they really shrink down the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's for the people, right? I'm not really worried about the margin as long as it makes sense, like financially and so, in the end of some sort, right? Because I know how many great, you know, budget-minded, family, you know, goal-orientated individuals shop at Costco. Like, we're one of those families. You know, if I knew that a family, you know, a mom could grab a bag of Morning Fix with 30 servings in it.
Huge bag, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like a 30 serving bag for $40, you know, it'd be awesome, right? And those are something I'm certainly looking at, you know, right now. And we're actually just talking about possibly a 30 serving bag. I'll talk about something wild. So we have all these travel boxes and our sales, and this is kind of like goes to show how creative problem solving, just not thinking that like anything is off the table like until you ask, right? Or find out, you know, yourself. I was talking to somebody and I'm just like, fuck man, like we got to run some more black bags. Our coffee plus adaptogens blend is picking up in sales so much. And I think it's it makes sense based off of some of the, economic downturn of sort, because it's like our best valued product in the sense of like affordability. It doesn't have the proteins and fats in it, but it gives you the feeling and you get to support the brand, which is a lot of people, they just want to be part of the brand. They love Strong Coffee Company.
Or they just want plain coffee.
Right. Or they just want plain coffee, right? Which is a lot of people because then they can doctor it up themselves, put their own whatever in it. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of reasons why it makes sense.
Put the crappy creamers in it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
At least the base is good.
I mean, God, Chobani does taste good though sometimes, but it's so fucking awful for you. All those seed oils and shit. Anyways, I was like, hey, like, what if we just started, instead of making all new product for our next couple of runs of bags of Morning Fix and Black and Daybreaker, can we just cut open 10,000 boxes of this Morning Fix sitting here and just throw these into bags? Throw these into 5,000 bags? And he's like, yeah, totally. He's like, that's good. We've done that before, And so I'm like, okay, great. So 2 days ago, I was sitting with this like fucking elephant on my chest. There is nobody that gives you creative solutions, right? Like everything you're taught in school is not creative solutions. They're all systematic, proven approaches to how to do something, but there is no course called If You Fuck Up, right?
Life.
Anybody need an adjunct professor in Texas? I'm willing to teach that course if you fuck up, right? Because the corrective actions require creative solutions.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not that it hasn't been done before. It's that nobody would talk about it without seeking it themselves. He's like, yeah, we've done it like once or twice before. I'm like, cool, how much it would cost? And I like already had a number in my head. He's like, this much per bag. I'm like, dude, that's the same number I had in my fucking head. I'm like, amazing. I'm like, let's get started. So we're cutting open 10,000 boxes where it's like, oh, that's going to make 5,000 bags. Well, fuck. We're going to go through these boxes, no problem. We're not going to be sitting on inventory and throwing product away in, a year. We're going to have increased our revenue by 50, 60% without having spent more money.
Yeah.
By taking this product that we thought we might lose because of what Whole Foods did to us and turning it around. So I think again, I've literally talked to companies that have been in this situation before, like not knowing the solution because it wasn't my problem to fix. So therefore I didn't put my mind there, that I know threw away shitloads of product that they could have recycled and found a way to move it, but quit in a manner of speaking. They're like, oh, whatever, dude. It's just like $100,000 in loss, like bigger brands, friends that own some companies that have been along much longer than me. But I'm still like, fuck, man, $100,000. I'm like, it's gotta be a better way. Plus, I would just feel like a universal asshole throwing away that much collagen in coffee. I mean, the fragile little hands that picked all those coffee beans.
You're looking at the whole story.
Yeah.
But I mean, a scenario to relate it to, right? The Yeezy Adidas rift, 1.3 billion of product. I got the same shoes. For those listening, he's got his Yeezys on. They're like, do we burn it? That's not a solution. Yeezy's canceled. We discontinued with him. Can we backpedal? Well, now they're going back. He's going to get paid. They're going to resell them. There's a market for it.
You think they ever would have? Man, I think all that shit was posturing.
It's all marketing, right?
I think it was all marketing bullshit. They never planned on throwing away those shoes. They knew that the Yeezy shit would blow over in some kind of manner. And then they found a way to fuck them out of tons of money. Even though they're giving him a percentage, they're selling his shoes and only giving him 15% of the sales instead of the original agreed upon percentage, which was completely different. And the only reason they did it is because they were going to lose $700 million in sales. And it's like,
And the investors and the parents.
what happened to all the social outrage?
You know,
But this is a place of love and learning, folks.
No, exactly. And the point isn't the stuff that happened there, but
No,
it's just
no. It's just,
people find themselves in these things, and what are the creative solutions? And you're figuring it out. They've had a problem at that level. I'm just saying, at that multi-billion-dollar level,
totally.
some people end up.
If you take all the social stuff out of it, if you just look at the level, I mean, it's crazy, right? I look at that as like a weird experience, you know, just because I'm close to the sneaker world in that sense. And just being somebody who kind of watches like the social atmosphere and doesn't understand, you know, some of the things that are happening, or like a company like Adidas who could say something one moment and then like the next moment, like effectively do something totally different after like saying all this other very social. And then when you like look at their background, it's even crazier. You're like, well, none of this actually makes sense. At all. Like,
right?
Like effectively you shouldn't even name the company Adidas then.
Yeah,
right?
Unpacking all of that.
Yeah, like let's unpack the whole background.
Did you watch the movie Air?
I have not.
Fantastic movie. I absolutely loved it. I got emotional. You know, I'm wearing Jordans. I love Jordans. I can't wait to one day collab. I keep putting it out there.
It's happening, bro.
But
it's
in there
happened.
they get, you're right. It's happened. I'm looking back from the future. But they kind of go a little bit into the Adidas backstory, and it's just, it's wild.
Yeah.
If you really go back then and what happened just recently, and I don't know, hopefully we can all learn to forgive, don't hurt each other as much as we've been hurting each other, and continue to move forward with love. We can all have opinions. We don't have to agree, but like humans still feel hurt, bleed, cry, love, laugh. Like we all do it no matter where we come from.
Yeah. 100%. I think that it is important to understand those things. I mean, as somebody who used to hurt people for a living, you know, it was definitely something that when I stopped doing, I felt emotional, you know, I felt empathy for those that like I encountered along that way, you know, where I'm like, I know we both signed off on this, but I'm like, we fucked each other up, you know, and it is important. Like when I ended my fighting career, it was like for the first time in 7 years after losing my brother, it was like I wanted to stop fighting and start feeling. I was I was ready.
You used that physical pain to mask or hide all this emotional pain and angst.
Yeah. Buy myself time. I was 22, so I was certainly buying myself time for like emotional growth to understand it. Otherwise, I probably would have just, you know, had a more regular life sorts, which, you know, wouldn't be a problem. You know, I was an electrician and I made great money and I had a 401k and benefits and all this stuff. And I never thought less of myself or thought less of anybody I ever worked with. I just chose to go a different way, you know, and it's been awesome. You know, I get to wear sneakers every day or basketball, you know, fucking running shorts and a t-shirt doing 99% of my life, you know, so I get to be comfortable and I get to be around the people I love. And if I don't love them, then I'm not around them. And that's completely my choice.
No, I get it. I mean, I was in a suit and tie for a long time and I hated every moment of it. You know, it's cool. You look in the mirror like,
it's wild imagining you.
You know, short hair, the mad.
It's wild imagining you that way.
And you look in the mirror like, ooh, suit. Like, yes, there's nothing wrong with a man in a suit, but like once you wear it 24/7 and it's hot and no, man, give me my jeans and my t-shirt.
Totally, 100%. I worked in a suit department at Boston store, and I remember like I'd get home and pants off, jacket off as fast as possible. It was just like, it's like, you do look good though. You do look very good, especially a nice tailored suit.
Oh, once it's fitted?
Yeah. I already have my suit that I'm going to, picked out that I'm going to be buried in.
I kind of vowed to never wear a suit again.
Yeah, it's the only time I will. You know, I don't even know if I'll be buried, maybe cremated in. Yeah, I have this Versace suit that Donatella Versace gave me, and I've never worn it. It's sitting in a bag.
Make sure it still fits.
It'll still fit, especially when I'm dead. Yeah, it'll fit perfectly. I'll just be like shave off a couple inches here if that's required.
Yeah. Just slice it out the back since you're laying there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's funny though. The whole cremated versus buried. I just find it.
How do you want to go?
I don't want to be buried
Do you want to
in a
be
casket.
turned into a necklace?
If you put me in a casket, like I don't get to go back to nature, right? Like my spirit goes where it goes with God, wherever I'm going to be. But like our body goes back, right? If we look at physics and mass and the transfer of energy and you can't create more mass or destroy mass, right? We're all here part of it. I want my body to go back to put me under a tree so I could feed a tree. Like I'm going to spend 10, 15 grand on a casket to be mummified in there. And
So
then
you're
what?
like,
And then
so
it's
like
under-
you want to be like a part of like regenerative farming.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I think
Cultivation.
I think that's what I want.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't thought too much about it. I'm not afraid of death.
Would that be cool if they could like fill your body with like a shitload of like seeds and bulbs and then like bury you in the ground without a casket and then one day just like flowers and trees start fucking blooming out of nowhere? That'd be amazing. Can we do that?
Why not?
All right. That's how I want to go.
Let's try it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can we wait?
I hope so.
Okay, good.
I want to live to 125. I'm not close yet.
I mean, 100. If all my joints work well and I'm able to still enjoy a joint at 125, then I want to live that old too.
Yeah. No, I always say obviously healthy and as pain free as possible and not on medications and
Yes.
with my wherewithal, you know.
Yeah.
But if we stay on this path, if we keep choosing love, I believe we can get pretty close.
Maybe like 245. I don't know, with modern day science.
I'm all for science too. I've got that science background.
There's some interesting stuff going on. I mean, I have some things going on with like my left hip that, you know, I was told a couple of years ago you may need to have your hip replaced in like 10 years. And I'm like, well, if I wait 20, I bet there'll be a badass fucking hip.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not wasting this surgery on that hip. I'm waiting for like that new age shit, like Terminator shit. So when that hip comes out, that's when I'm getting my hip done. Even if I don't need it.
Right.
I'm just gonna be like, do it. Do it all. Yeah, do it all. Give me some new elbows, couple new hips.
No, I've thought about it. I mean, sometimes I'm like, dude, it'd be cool to just I just want to see humanity at that level. Where have we gone? Cryo freeze me for 100 years and then wake me up. The only fear I would have is we actually don't make it. The only fear we have is like we don't make it, but like who do we leave behind? Like, well, I want to freeze my entire family with me. Oh, but some of my friends like, you know. So it's just a thought. But it'd also be cool to go back 100 years.
You're like, I want to freeze
actually,
Rebby. Rebby's like, Dad, I'm still awake. I'm totally fine. What are you doing? Like, what? No. You'll be fine when I wake up.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing.
Yeah, man.
What's next for you though? What's next for Strong Coffee?
What's next for Strong Coffee? Well, man, we're just gonna keep digging. We're gonna keep doing what we do. We're gonna, you know, we've got some cool shifts that we're doing right now. We're about to launch a new website.
New flavor.
New flavor
Got the gummies.
New flavor that we're working on. We got the gummies. The gummies are amazing, man. Like you can stack them with the coffee, and I know that sounds crazy, but like if you eat the gummy first thing in the morning and then sip the coffee throughout like your first hour of your day, it's such a cool experience because like you get like the boost of energy that you want like right away because the gummy ingests 6 times like breaks down and absorbs 6 times faster than a cup of coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then like you can sit there and drink the coffee. And so it's kind of like a cool thing. And then you can just use them like when you're traveling or going into a meeting or, you know, for people who love the taste of coffee, but maybe they can't drink it because of the acid issues. It's like another way to get that energy bump and a good taste of coffee. We do have some cool flavors. We got like 3 or 4 flavors on the Rolodex and we're getting there. Right now we're in the conversations of fundraising. So I haven't fundraised nearly as much as other companies. Like I would say on average, most companies at this point have raised anywhere from like 2 to 10 million to go like as long and as far as we have. And, you know, we've raised not even the minimal, you know, not even half of that minimal. So we've done it very bootstrappy.
So like friends and family, early seed money, because
Yeah,
you're
that's all
not
we've
even
really-
in the
yeah,
series.
that's all we really have ever done is early seed money, and it's like we have a great valuation of the company, and there's all these really positive things behind it. So really, it's now just kind of looking at like what do we really focus on to continue to drive the needle, and how do we continue to service the community and stay ahead of those that have so much more than us, right? Because like really we're the underdog, right? And I'm okay with that. Like I always have been, so ultimately, I know that I'm still the dog and and the fight in the dog is strong. So I have great help, people like Caleb. I have great people, like my wife, my daughters, we're going to be doing a lot of traveling this summer and just serving and sleeping and camping in the van and doing whatever we can to just keep spreading the love and spreading the strong.
What about international reach?
International reach has been interesting. We're exploring like Australia and Europe. It would almost be cheaper just to manufacture product in Australia or Europe and just
host it out there, right? In warehouses and ship from out there. And
yeah. So basically like what we would do is what we've been kind of looking at is doing like small runs out there and putting it on Amazon. So we don't have to actually manage anything and just allow ourselves to start growing in other Amazon markets because I don't want to have to manage. Amazon's really great in certain ways because what they can do for you as a brand that doesn't have a lot of help is they can reduce your overall shipping costs, which can be important. But they can actually help you track and hypothesize, like theorize around your velocity. So they can kind of give you an understanding of how much product you need to make. So they're like, hey, this is what you're trending at, and because they run the game, they kind of know. And because they make money by selling your shit, if it's selling well, they'll keep showing it to people, right? And then they don't want you to run out of product because if you ever run out of product, you get a little check, a little X or something that says naughty. You get one too many of those, and all of a sudden you start dropping in their rankings that are invisible. So you have to really like take care of those things. But being in other countries would be amazing. We have so much interest in Europe, Australia. It'd be really cool to get in fucking Canada in a Canadian Amazon, just because like our friendly neighbors to the north pay ridiculous prices to get American shit. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Why their government needs $30 to let them have a $30 bag of coffee that they paid $30 to ship makes no sense to me. I'm like, what? I'm like, our government takes like a couple bucks of that for fucking taxes. Like, why are these people getting for like import and shit? Like, are you kidding me? It's absurd. Yeah. So we have to have product in Canada. Yeah. I mean, what else? Yeah, I mean, that's really it. We want to play with some other things. Like we have a couple of like music artists that that we love, that like love strong coffee. We're talking about using like our content team to actually like make a music video, and kind of get into doing some of that stuff with like the people that we work with, to try to have just more artistic fun and continue to create like a culture that people can be proud of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Exit strategy, sell off. Is there anyone that said, any company out there, Nabisco, Kellogg, I don't know, there's like 3 companies that own all the companies that you wouldn't sell to? Not sell to, but like, and is there a number that you're like, because if you want to stick to core values, like our X bar sold to Kellogg for $1 billion or something, right? That was a product that started in CrossFit. Is it still as good as when it started in a garage? I don't know.
I think it is. It's the same product.
Yeah.
They have tried to do other shit with their name, and it has not done well.
Yeah.
So they tried to do like, I think like a like the RX oatmeal, like the RX sugar. They tried doing like a couple of things. I think that's, indicative of corporate America thinking that they can like take something and then stamp it on something else and that it's going to sell. It's like such a fucking weird thing that they keep thinking is a thing that happens, but it just doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. It's like RX Bar makes really good bars. It's called RX Bar.
Yeah. Why ruin a product you spent $1 billion on, right?
Right. Well, because they spent $1 billion on the name.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we can just put this name on everything. Right. And that's a lot of where those multiples came from, but you don't see those kind of multiples anymore. Right. That's not the kind of space we're in anymore. Nobody's exiting for 8 times revenue. Right. It's maybe 5, 6 times EBITDA. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like if you're not a cash flow positive company, it's like your company really isn't worth anything for a real exit unless it's like a pure platform company. So, I mean, we had...
Or you own the patents or something too, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had multiple offers to buy Strong Coffee. I mean, BPN reached out one time 3 years ago. They reached out. They didn't like the price. I was like, well, cool. That's what it's worth. Don't like it, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Then we had a couple other people. Hold, please. The Wambulance.
You'll edit it.
Cool. So then we went to, what was I saying? Shit. The ambulance.
BPN,
The ambulance
the price.
fucked me up. So yeah. So we've had a couple other companies offer to buy it. Most recently, we had a large coffee company actually offer to buy it, which was pretty interesting. I didn't go with the deal because it was like they would keep me on, but they would get rid of everybody else. And it just kind of seemed a little cutthroaty.
Yeah.
And that's not talking shit about them. That's just like how they do it. I just don't feel like we're at that stage that's like the type of move we need to make. Where it's like, yeah, I understand that
It's too soon.
I know you understand how to sell a shitload of coffee and that you don't really need my team anymore because like you do all this shit for these other 2 large coffee brands you own. But I'm still trying to build a company with a heart, right? Not a heartless, just corporatized platform.
It was almost like you should have offered, just take the company, let us all go. Right?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but...
You still would have said no, but it's still like...
Yeah, well, and the reason, the deal why they said they were going to keep me is because I told them a deal that I would be interested in. So they just kind of like took that deal and like took pieces of it out and were like, well, we'll give you a X year contract. You'll get X salary, which was like a really nice salary, benefits, bonuses, like all these things. And you'll get bonuses from these other brands that are like cash machines, you know? And it's like, oh, well, that sounds awesome. Like I might make like $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
But Strong Coffee probably won't be what I ever thought it was going to be. Right. And I think like, it sounds funny, but you said like, who would I not sell it to? It's not that I wouldn't sell it to anybody. It would definitely be like, I would want some stipulations on the sale. And if that was like a make or break deal, then maybe that just wouldn't be the right person. But I'd be like, hey, look, like this coffee always needs to be organic and mold free, right? Like certified, like pesticide, herb free, herbicide free, like all these things. Or you need to make sure like not to put GMOs in this shit. Like we can't ever have this like be a GMO product of any sort. Like I think like some basic things like, hey, you want to take this and kind of like bastardize it and make like a cheaper version of it and use our sourcing, but make like a GMO product that you like white label. Cool. Do that. Like that's not Strong Coffee then,
Weak coffee.
Wheat coffee over in the corner. Hey, you bitch. So I think like for me, I throw rocks at the person that I want to buy me all day. Cause like, that's the best way to flirt with somebody is to throw rocks at them. So Starbucks will have no option but to buy me because I will become big enough that when they see a small percentage of their sales drift away into organic, sugar-free collagen lattes, that they just can't seem to get right because they've tried. They've tried protein coffees before and they were fucking disgusting. I respect the hustle that it took to build that size business. Now, I hope they can respect when I say, it's time for you to make a change. You once believed in the skinny latte, which I believe had good intention of sorts, right? Milk alternatives were introduced because you were trying to stay away from dairies of sorts, right? For lactose reasons, great. You offered sugar-free solutions. Sucralose is not the way. It affects gut health, gut flora, people with autoimmune skin issues, any of those things we'll see, we'll see issues from prolonged use or even any kind of use at all. So if you once believed in the skinny latte, buy strong coffee and do the right thing. They could cut down on refrigeration costs because they wouldn't have to, have tons of cold brew pre-prepped. There's like all sorts of things that they could do that they could better themselves as a company. They could even reduce their overall footprint of stores, right? You wouldn't need big coolers, like all these kinds of things that I just like look at where I'm like, hey, you can make yourself better and, make other people better too.
No, what you just said is one of the things I say is I need to make the conversation so loud that everyone comes running to me instead of me trying to join everyone's conversation. And I think we're all too busy trying to jump into every other conversation instead of making ours loud.
Yeah, totally. I mean, young Caleb Fossum and I have been coming up with some strong ideas to get in the ear of Starbucks, and to continue to do so. And, we won't really stop until we get those cease and desist letters. And even at that point, it's like, why would you stop? Like, because they're going to sue you? I mean, come on. Like, that would be the best thing fucking ever. That'd be the cover of New York Times type shit. Yeah. Right? Which would never happen because if Goliath ever takes a swing at David in this social atmosphere, it is not the way.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. So it's like the best thing that they'll be able to do is to give me $50 million and make the shit that I make and now offer strong lattes at all Starbucks. I mean, you got the hot water. We're already stealing it from you on a regular basis. People go to your Starbucks. People go to Starbucks and ask for free hot water.
I've done that, and I take out of my back pocket my strong, whip it up, and I walk through the airport.
We make a latte in 30 seconds with your hot water that people would prefer over the latte that you're making that takes minutes, right? With all these other things, these accoutrements that you have to balance. And it's funny, like we've had people literally walk up to us at Starbucks lines when we're like doing our shit. And they're like, what are you guys doing over here? And they want to do it too, and it's like that's not going to stop, so we're just going to keep doing that. We call it stealing from Starbucks.
Stealing water. The fact that
exactly.
we're even saying you're stealing water is hilarious.
I know.
Oxygen, water, like these are things we need. But tying this all up, like we've talked about, I want to open up a coffee concept.
Yeah.
I've talked about wanting to have your product there to make some really incredible lattes and things, love versions of this. Don't know what I'm going to call it because I don't think it's going to be called Love Coffee, but it's going to be an experience, head to toe art. Like the chairs, everything's going to be shaped from my art, and then we're just going to serve very few products, but really good ones. A regular coffee, the lattes you have kind of rebranded to fit the love concept. Probably a love flavor that we've kind of talked about and toyed around. Yeah. But then maybe even the CBD version or the LA version, or,
We could do a THC version if that's what you just meant by the LA version.
Just to spice it up a little bit. But like that's still in the works. I need a spot. So if anyone listening when this episode drops and you've got a location that I can open this at, hit me in the DMs, please.
I mean, I think a visual experience with your stuff would be so cool. And, maybe that's something that like when you do one of these badass, partnerships that you do might be something that you roll in there as a great way to even roll out that partnership where it's like, if you're going to do something with this company, it's like, oh, well, how about when we do this release, we have a Venice pop-up for 2 months set up all like this where people get to interact with this art and the prototypes that are made to make this. Like you could have done with like the tequila, like the shot room. You guys could have had like a pop-up shot room.
Yeah.
When that came out, and just had like this big tequila chair and like take a shot. You know what I mean? So there's gonna be so many cool things that you're gonna do, and I've seen you do since I've even met you. And you know, we went past the Kobe Bryant mural, and I was like, you know, or we were at Mercado, and I saw the skull with the loves. That's the same one I have on my jacket, my denim jacket.
Yep.
I bought that denim jacket.
Yep.
Full price, baby.
Not from me, from the person that did it, but
Yeah. Whatever.
but no. Here's the thing:
It was your art,
buying
though.
it from,
It was
yeah,
your
it was
art.
my art. It was approved. It was all legit. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Obviously, that all trickles back down. I only said that because when people are like, "Where do I get a denim jacket?" That's all.
Yeah.
But
Do they still sell them?
no, I think
Yeah, it was like limited
her
edition. Right?
company. It was a good idea. She was kind of creating a couple products. The denim jacket was awesome. Nice stretch fit.
Yeah, it
to
had like
it.
a good material
It
to it.
fit good for athletic type. A hoodie and a t-shirt.
A hoodie.
And she was licensing and partnering with artists and picking a mural design and putting the coordinates. And this was her idea. And I think pandemic or something happened and she didn't get very far. But it was a cool idea and I was willing to give her a shot. I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's see what happens. Some people got some really cool stuff. A lot of people are like, where do I get that? It's never been released on your site. I know. I didn't release it.
If anybody wants a denim jacket, I'll sell it for $500.
You make it signed at least.
Well, yeah.
By
Make it
you.
then sell it for $1,000.
Yeah.
If you sign it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's easily $1,000. So let's sell that denim jacket for $1,000.
Let's go.
I'll take $500. You take the other $500.
Seed money for the pop-up shop, coffee shop.
Exactly. The pop-up coffee shop. That's exactly it.
So final question, though. Here we are.
Yes.
It's the one that wraps up the show. You're not
Bring
graded
it.
on it.
Wait, what?
No, you're not. Don't worry. Everyone's answer is an A+.
Perfect. Let's do this.
So Adam,
I'm so nervous.
don't get clammy hands on me now. How do you define living a life through love?
Oh, man, I've seen you do this on your podcast, and I should have prepped for it. Can you please repeat the question?
Adam, how do you define living a life through love?
Can you use that in a sentence?
Can you call a lifeline or call a buddy? No,
How do I define a life living through love?
that's not the question.
Ask me again.
How do you define living a life through love?
Oh, what did I just say? I don't know. It doesn't even matter. I am dyslexic. And
All of a sudden, he has gotten the first F.
Yes. Man. I think that really is a great question. And ultimately, you know, putting your best forward to be your best, not only for yourself, but for others, and for no reason other than that's, you know, in so many ways what we're here for. It's like, you know, I've never like looked at somebody and said, I don't want to help them because of who they are or what they, you know, what they look like, or, you know, that they're different than me. And I think that like intuitive, that love that I have in myself, man, that's a hard one to verbalize, dude. It's like when people tell me ask me why do I love them? And I try to come up with ways, but it's really like this, or like words, but really it's this feeling that I have that when I'm doing it, I know it. Right. And when I'm not doing it, I know it. And so to define it, almost like, it's like, do you feel this? You know, like, this is what it feels like, right? Doing the right thing when nobody's fucking looking. You know, like being the person for someone, even though you're not supposed to be that person, right? And sometimes, you know, making sure that you treat yourself that way too, right? And I think that's like a thing that most people miss out on. You know, they're always putting out, but never like taking back in for themselves. And that's a short road. Did that answer your question?
A+.
Excellent.
Thank you, Adam.
I was really worried there.
Where after you catch your breath and wipe that armpit sweat off, Where can everybody find you?
Armpit sweat. What? Oh, I do have some. Oh, look at that.
That was a stressful question.
Well, dude, you got me on that one. Fuck. These lights are bright as shit too. What are they? Sun rated? What'd you ask me? What'd you
Where
say
can
to me?
everybody find you?
What'd you say to me? Well, you want me to give him my address?
If you want to be that open with
That's weird. That's
Cell
weird.
phone,
Let's-
social
let's
security
stop there.
number.
Yeah, so you can find me at Von Rothfelder. That's my personal Instagram. You can write my musings and writings over at Strong Coffee Company and me pretending that I'm funny. We are a 80% dominant meme account with some great health values sprinkled in. And if you really want to get the motivational and true value side of everything that is me and Strong Coffee, subscribe to our email because I put out dimes every week, and it's very little about the product. It's really more about the life and how to look at things and how to continue a life, through strength and resilience. And strongcoffeecompany.com. Remember, company is important because it's what you keep around you, right? So
don't forget it.
So don't forget it. Some people are like, oh, Strong Coffee. I'm like, no. Strong Coffee Company, right? Even when you say the name to somebody, like make sure you tell them Strong Coffee Company, right? Because that's important. They'll remember it better.
Oh, yeah. The company.
The company. It's what you keep, man. It's who you have around you that makes you who you are. So choose strong ones.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Live Through Love. If you love this episode, you'll love this episode.